Hi, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Thanks, Judy, for the intro. My name's Jennifer Pugh, and I am the Sales and Consulting Manager with Dynamic Budgets. I also have Zubin, the founder, on as an attendee. So just wanted to welcome you all and let you know that he is on the line too. I'm sure some of you may know him already. So I wanted to see, Judy, though, if we could, I don't know if it's possible to unmute everybody and just kind of before we jump into the product, just see who's on the line and just maybe open it up and ask, what struggles you have, since I don't think we have,
We can. We could do
and
that.
yeah, if people want to just say, kind of what you what takes you the longest to work through your budgets. Does it take you weeks to put together your templates? What do you struggle with the most?
Okay, we'll just do one at a time, just in case there's noise in the background. Okay, we'll start. Maybe I can't. And attendees must self-unmute themselves.
So if you guys want to mute yourself, if you have any stories to share.
Anyone like to unmute yourself? They're all being kind of quiet.
That's
Shares a
okay.
struggle you're having with, it's year end, and I'll start. It's year end. I don't have any time to do this budget. It's just stressful for me to be up till 1, 2 in the morning trying to figure out how to get all this done, and then you submit it, and management goes, no, this isn't right. You got to bring this down. So, I'd always budget for way more than I needed, right? Because
Mhm.
you knew it was going to be cut, right? I'm just kidding, but that's how I did my budgets. Anyone else like to share, or you can place it in you can either
In the
unmute
chat.
or in the chat as well. And otherwise, we'll just go ahead and get started too. How's that sound, Jen?
Yeah, I think we just, go ahead and get started. So I'm just going to go ahead and log in. We do use your Windows credentials to log in. So just let me know if you can see my screen okay. Judy, you
Yes,
can
we
see my
can.
screen?
Yes, we
Okay.
can.
Okay, perfect. All right. So I'm just going to show really quick how we're live linked to GP initially, and then I'll show you the different styles of budgeting in dynamic budgets. We do have a payroll module. We do have an allocations module, CapEx. So all of that's included. There's no, a la carte modules that you need to purchase separately. Again, I mentioned we are live linked to GP. So you can drill down on transactions and see the actual details from GP. So I'm just going to choose my 2020 actuals, and I can drill down here, either look at month transactions or year-to-date transactions. Let me just choose year-to-date transactions here. And I should get a drill down here. Let me actually pick a expense account. That might be a little bit more interesting than sales, maybe payroll taxes. I'm not sure why I'm not getting anything here. Let's see. Let me just pick another budget ID here. Oops, sorry about that. So I'm not sure what's going on here. I might have something with my connection, but there's a screen that you could see that pops up that shows the actual live linked details from GP. You can turn on row formatting here if you wanted to, maybe see your items totaled, sort of like a P&L statement. So you could see revenue and some categories within revenue. I can still go down to the actual accounts here, but it just gives me a little bit of a different view for the report. So there's a number of different row formats that can be turned on. I can maybe look at this by department, or expenses only, budget submission review. So these are all customizable, or you can just choose no format. So this is kind of how we're live linked to GP. There is also a transaction report, the monthly account or monthly actuals transaction review. So if I wanted to pick a year and see all accounts for a particular month, maybe for, one department.
Sometimes if you just exit
Where's
out of
that?
that and then sign back in, I think log out and back in, that might filter that for you.
Yeah, I don't know what's
Maybe.
going on with my system here today, but sorry about
Sometimes
that.
that reformats it for you. That's not per me. That's for someone that raised their hand.
Actually, I'm going to go ahead and I have a local version, so that should be a little more cooperative here.
Sometimes the crazy connections we have, that does happen.
It's
So
just
no
the
worries. It's
working
just one of those
the
things.
working from home.
Yes, yes. And budgeting challenges can be so hard, trying to get everything all synced up for the new year. And so many
Mhm.
different departments don't usually have their budgets in on time. That was another big thing that was always a situation. We needed to have it by a certain day, and certain departments, oh, they're busy. They just couldn't get their budget in. So sometimes that's a key factor that would always be a challenge for people putting the budgets together as well. So
Here we go. Now we're happy. So here you can see all the transactions coming back for 2020 for this specific department, Department 100. So what's unique about this screen is I have all my transactions here. I can actually sort this by any of these column headers. If I click and drag this up to the gray bar, and maybe I want to collapse this down just to level 1. So now I have the report sorted by all of my vendors and customers. Or maybe I want to sort by account description. So I can see all of my different accounts for 2020. And then maybe I want to also stack the vendor customer name after that. So now you can see I have my account description and then the vendor customer name. And then you can still drill down and see the actual account information here. Let me actually go back to this report that I was on initially. Oops, and just want to go back and pull the drill down now that this is cooperating. So here you can see the actuals from GP populating in this little window on the screen. And so there's a ton of details, the transaction date, who it was posted by, journal entry number, all kinds of good stuff there. So we have a few different styles of budgeting and dynamic budgets. We have, more of a custom worksheet style entry, a basic budget entry form, which is kind of just, your account number, 12 months of data you can just simply type into. We have a budgeting dashboard, which some folks use for budgeting, but it's more of like the bird's eye view, kind of supervisor view. I'm just going to jump into the custom budget entry just to kind of show you what this looks like. So here is a lot of our customers really like this view because it gives them some years or information in terms of actuals, maybe historical budgets. Maybe you have an annualized column in here for your current actuals annualized through the rest of the year. Or maybe you have a forecast, that you want to show your new budget compared to your forecast for your current year. So you can see all those different columns on screen. You can insert variance columns. Maybe you want to have a comments column. Why is this account over or under budget? So you can leave yourself notes or leave your supervisor notes so they don't have to, do the back and forth when you're going through the budget process. So kind of helpful there. You can turn the formats on this screen as well. So if I wanted to look at this, maybe collapsed by revenue or expenses, I can turn these row formats on. But here we can actually drill down into an account and get a little bit more detail. So here we just have one sort of assumption in dynamic budgets for this account. So we just have a temp assistant we're asking for in this employee benefits. We could put in another assumption as well. Maybe we want assumption 2 or assumption 3, whatever the information is that you want to actually budget for. You could type the values in or do simple math. If I just wanted to do 500 plus 500, you'll notice here there's no formula bar. So there is no, formula to break or anything like that, like in Excel. So we love that feature. We don't like things broken. So you can simply type in your values here. Or if you wanted to look up down at the bottom, maybe you want to look up what was spent last year or for a previous, budget cycle, whatever the case may be. But I can look down here at maybe my 2020 actuals, and all of these are hyperlinks. So if I wanted to see, what I spent in a particular month, this January number looks kind of high compared to the rest of the months, I can just click on that hyperlink and it's going to drill down into GP and tell me exactly, what makes up that $3,020 total. So if you wanted to copy your values from last year, you can just simply copy those values and paste them up into the grid above. And then maybe you want to, change some of these. Maybe this was a little bit off. I'm going to make it a little bit more consistent with the other months. Or if you want to actually look up the values from a historical year or vendors, and you want to pull that back over into the grid, we have this lookup column here, these little magnifying glasses. So if I click on that lookup, I have various tabs up here at the top: financial, vendors, customers, a number of different tabs. I'm going to actually focus on vendors and customers, and I'm going to just look and see, maybe I want to pull in vendors for a particular account to see all the vendors that were spent in a particular account. So let me just pick on, let's see, let me go down a little bit here, maybe just telephone. So I can select my accounts here at the top, add them to my data shopping cart down here in the bottom, and then I can just copy those over into my grid. And now you can see, looks like I only have one vendor here, but let's assume that I had multiple vendors here. It's going to show me all the vendors that were used in that account in 2020, and it's actually going to show me what was spent by month as well. So you can change these values. You can perform math operations off of them. Let me just delete these rows. And you can add additional rows just by right-clicking and inserting rows here. Let's see. Let's do one that's a little bit less. So here I have some financial lookup information coming back. So I can do a financial lookup or a vendor customer lookup. And here I'm actually looking up from 2020 the amounts that were actually spent in the supplies hardware account and just returning that back on screen. So if I wanted to say take one of these values and maybe increase it by 10%, I have a formula column here, this FX column. So I can make this first column or first row that I want to do the operator off of a plus. I'd make the next row a multiply and the last row an equals. And you can see that last row turns yellow. So it knows that that's the last row in the calculation. So maybe I want to make this first month 20%, maybe this next month is, 15%, and I want to make the final months, 10%. So I can copy and paste these with my keyboard. Now I don't have any values in here. Maybe I'll just populate some values in here so you can see the calculation actually working down here in the bottom. So you can see how easy it is to look up information from GP. You can use the bottom part of the screen. You can use the lookup feature. You can simply type in values. There's also a spread method. So let's just say you had an assumption. You knew you were budgeting for an annual value. So if I had $10,000, I knew I was going to, budget in this account. I can just put 10,000 in the spread amount column and then just choose monthly and tab off on my keyboard, and it's going to automatically spread that evenly by the 12 months. Let's just say I knew it wasn't a monthly spread. Maybe this account was based on some sort of historical trend. You can actually choose based on various budgets, forecasts, actuals. So if I chose, maybe I want to base this on how money was, spent on 2020, or maybe 2020 is crazy, because of COVID. I don't want to base anything off 2020. Let me choose 2019. That's a little bit more accurate. So I choose that. I tab off on my keyboard. It's going to distribute that amount based on how the funds were spent in 2019. There's nothing in 2019. Let me just choose 2020. You can see. So now you can see the distribution is going to be based on how funds were actually spent in 2020. Does that make sense? Any questions so far?
It does make sense. I don't see any questions yet. Good job.
Okay. So this is our custom budget entry screen. So if I just save these assumptions, I'm going to go back to the main account list. So this is my main account list, and that value is going to populate over here in this cell for my proposed 2020 budget. I can enter in comments like you see we've done off here to the side just by clicking on this little notepad pencil icon. I can type my comments in here. Maybe I just do sample comment. And it's going to actually date and time stamp that comment, which is great. So you can see it was posted by me on 12/16. It gives all the information, the detail of when that comment was posted. And if I just click search one more time, just to refresh my comments history, now you can see that sample comment. This looks like a lot of information here on screen. Maybe you don't want to see, all of this detail. I just want to see like a quick bullet list of comments. So I can check the box to say show simple comments. And now you can see it's kind of more of a little bit of a bulleted list. So I'm just going to jump back to the basic budget entry form, kind of work backwards. And just kind of show you what this form would look like. So this is a little bit more basic. You just have your account list and then 12 months of data. You could type in numbers here if you wanted to, kind of go that route of budgeting. But you could actually still drill into the accounts from this screen as well. You have your spread method, your amount, so you could still utilize those features. We, always encourage folks to actually, drill down into their accounts to budget. Is there any folks on the line that, are actually budgeting not at the account level like this, but actually, monthly values in more detail, maybe on spreadsheets or another method? Anybody want to comment on how they're currently budgeting, or are you just budgeting at the account level, kind of like this? Maybe even just budgeting an annual value.
Maybe we have both, huh?
Okay.
Some of each.
Well, I mean, and one thing that's great about dynamic budgets is folks can kind of take baby steps. So if you don't want to just throw everybody into, budgeting in detail, maybe this is your first step to budget using the basic budget entry form. You don't want to kind of like shock everybody. If you want to keep, folks budgeting maybe just an annual value, for the first year and then kind of move on to, each month and then in details later on, we have lots of tools built in the system. So, let's just say everyone wants to budget an annual value. We actually have a little widget here called Spread Annual Budget where you could put in your annual value and then, maybe the finance department or, some other team wants to go in and spread that annual value based on a historical trend. I had one customer that said, I just want to budget my annual value and spread it based on 3 years of actuals. So we created a spread method for, 3 years of his actuals. And we just came in, we chose that spread method and, just spread the annual total by that spread method. So lots of different kind of tips and tricks we can do, to not shock the users. We want to make it easy. We want to make it fun. Most folks don't think of budgeting as being fun. I actually love budgeting, so I do think it's fun. And then looking at your budget versus your actuals on a more regular basis is super important. So we have lots of reports and tools in here that you can actually look at your budget versus your actuals. So if I just pull up, maybe a quick sample variance report, you'll see we have month actuals, month budget, a variance column. You can comment on those variances and then see your year-to-date totals out here off to the side. If you wanted to actually drill down into a variance, let me just show you a quick sample here. If I click on that variance, one thing that's really great about dynamic budgets is you can see this split screen where it shows you your actuals on top and what you budgeted on the bottom. So you can see at a quick glance, why you might be over or under budget. You can comment on that over here, and then you can utilize those comments when you're budgeting for the following year. Kind of leave yourself little notes or breadcrumbs. So when you're budgeting for the following year, you have that information. So I love this report. We also have the payroll module. I just want to show really quick. So this is our employee roster. So you would put folks into the employee roster. You can actually budget by named employee here. And then we have lots of different methods of budgeting their expenses. We have a tool to budget their salary. We have an hourly staffing module. We even have a shift differential kind of 24/7 payroll module as well. So if you have people that are, on in healthcare, working 24/7, have different shifts, we have a tool to be able to budget down to that granular of a level.
Okay, I have
And
a
you
quick
can
question.
define.
Oops, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah. No,
I
no,
had
go
a
ahead,
quick
please.
question here for you. I'm sorry, I didn't catch it right away. I had a question on budgeting, for example, on 3 accounts. Is that possible, or was that still over in the other accounting area?
Budgeting on 3 accounts.
And an amount on 3 accounts. Yeah, is that something that you can do?
Oh, all at one time?
Yeah.
You could do that on the basic budget entry form. So if you had 3 accounts, for instance, I don't know if this answers the question, but you could just enter those amounts in here. We could do that, or we also have a import kind of worksheet. So if you
Okay.
had we
Awesome.
could also list the accounts here.
Sure.
Let me just hide this, the amounts per month, and you could put in the assumption, and you could just click Save Assumption, and it would save all of that information back to the budget ID. So you could utilize this tool. We also have something that we've developed over the last couple of years called custom worksheets. So we have these custom worksheets that you can use to do all kinds of different budgeting, scenario planning, budgeting for revenue. It can bring data in from GP and also dynamic budgets and do calculations, kind of live and then save back to accounts that you specify. So really powerful. Let me just bring up maybe like here's an RVU, which is relative value units for healthcare, just to kind of show you what this might look like. This is very, very detailed, but you can see this is, lots of different physicians. These are all statistical pieces of information. So these are nurse practitioner RVUs. So all the kind of units and stats at the top, payer mix percentages, and then we can perform calculations down here at the bottom and actually save that back to an account. So all those rows at the top were all to just get these totals down at the bottom and save them back to budget accounts. So these are very easy to build. You can use them for lots of different things. So there's this kind of method of budgeting too that folks are using for revenue, for what if scenarios, things like that. So I'm not sure if that answers the question.
Yeah, that was
Feel
excellent.
okay.
Yeah, just
Yeah, and feel free
excellent.
to elaborate. Yeah, if they want to, come off mute or elaborate, happy to get more detailed if you'd like.
No, that's excellent because with all the time changes and people redoing their budgets probably several times this year, that's an
Yeah.
excellent example. Thank you.
Yeah, we have a lot of folks that are using our forecast builder as well to, like you said, forecast or reforecast. So, for example, you could do all kinds of different blends, different versions of forecasts. We have one person who has done like 6 different forecasts per month just because things are changing so frequently. So like this example would be a few months of actuals and then annualizing those actuals for the remaining months of the year. Or maybe you want to have a blend of actuals and then budget. So lots of different ways that you can build forecasts and then have your forecast either moving, or maybe you want to have it static, or do multiple forecasts and look at them all together, side by side. So there's lots of different ways you can do it. I'm just going to pull up a quick custom report where you could see maybe different versions of a forecast versus an original budget. So here you have actuals budget, a forecast, a reforecast, some variance columns. Maybe you want to have some comments off of this. So yeah, lots of different tools in dynamic budgets that you can play with. So
Excellent.
let me just close some of these. We also integrate with Power BI. We do visualizations and dashboards and things like that. So I'm not sure if any folks out there are using Power BI, but we do have that capability to, do graphs and, visualizations off of the data in dynamic budgets, budget data, as well as data that's coming in from GP. And our custom reports as well, we can mimic reports that you may have also in Management Reporter or another reporting solution. So this is a custom report with custom rows. So, we're not going to replace your formal reporting solution, but we can do live, user run reports that will save folks time in the finance department from constantly getting bombarded, being asked for various reports. They can be built, and then users can run them on the fly whenever they need. You can drill into the actuals from our reports. All of our custom reports are drillable as well. So in this scenario, I have a grouping of accounts called administrative revenues. So what's really powerful about this report is I have this grouping of accounts. Here's all the accounts that make up that grouping. And then I actually have hyperlinks here at the top, and then my actual live GP data here at the bottom. So I can click on any of these numbers at the top for any of these accounts, any of the months, and see the actual data from GP populate at the bottom. So just wanted to show that off.
Very powerful.
Yes. So Judy, I think we're approaching the end. Are we able to keep going? Do folks on the meeting want to keep going?
If you have a few more items, we'll go for a few more minutes, if that's okay with everyone.
Okay. Is there anything that folks wanted to see specifically, or any, want to go in more detail into payroll? Or I know that's always a difficult aspect to budget.
What do you have for payroll budgeting? I might have
So,
interrupted you there. So you were doing a great
oh
job
no,
in there.
no, that's okay. So earlier, I was just showing the roster and how you would put in your folks into either maybe one of the modules, hourly or the salary module. So here, all my people are coming over from the roster, and I can see, their department, their job title, their org unit. Here's where you would budget for their salary, and then all of their fringe benefits off to the side. So where do these fringe benefits come from? We actually have a place where you can define all the different fringe benefits, lots of different calculation types. Here you can see FICA. We have budgeted at 6.2%. We actually have a wage limit. So this person, let's just say somebody was making over the wage limit, their tax would cap out once they hit that taxable amount. So let's just see if I can find somebody here just to show you an example that is making over the wage limit. So this Jaylee, if I click on this little magnifying glass and I have the FICA line, you can see when I get to September or October, I don't have any more FICA tax because she's capped out. She's made the max, as of September, she's made the 87.97. So no more amounts would be budgeted. So over in the expense definitions, there's lots of different calculation types. If you don't see it here, if you have a particular, interesting fringe benefit that we haven't seen, we can most likely build it in. These have tended to cover every aspect or every type of fringe benefit. We've seen some crazy ones, and we've actually built in some for different scenarios. I think one recently was the golden handcuffs, where somebody gets a bonus in one year and it's paid the following year, things like that. So we've kind of seen it all. But if you don't have the calculation type here, most likely we can build it in. So we have medical, for example. This is just one plan, but you can build in all the different options for various medical plans, life, short-term disability, long-term disability, 401k, just to give some examples of some different calculation types. A lot of questions we get too, kind of veering off of the payroll module, is how does the budget get into GP? That's always kind of a frustrating point for a lot of folks I hear. So under our tools menu, we just have this export budget to ERP routine, and it's literally 5 steps. So you pick your budget ID coming from Dynamic Budgets. You click search. You'll get your data up here in the grid at the top. You would click your budget ID from GP. Let's just say this is by demo data, but you would see your budget ID coming over from GP here in this drop-down list. You could give yourself an export description, such as board approved on 12/16/20, something like that. You could choose your export style. Maybe you want to leave existing records or delete all existing records and just replace them with the information here. And then you just click export, and it literally takes a number of seconds to export. If there's an error or something isn't happy, an account maybe didn't push through, or there's some issue, you would get an error message on screen here. Whereas I know in some previous versions of GP, there's no error. If an account isn't found or there's an issue, there's no error message. So you're kind of left spending tons of time trying to track down what didn't go through. We're kind of the philosophy of if an account isn't in GP, there's an error message that shows that we're live linked to GP, so you can't budget for an account if it doesn't exist in GP. So we kind of don't like, making up accounts and then trying to push them into GP where they may not exist.
Good plan. I
So
like
yeah,
that one.
kind of makes sense, I think.
Yeah, it does. It totally does. I
So
like
that's
that
our
double check.
export.
Mhm.
A lot of people too ask us a lot about, well, I have my budget, I did all this work, how do I start my budget for next year? We actually have a wonderful duplicate budgets routine here. You can select your budget. There's a number of check boxes. You can duplicate your payroll budget, any allocations that you may have done, any custom worksheets. And it's literally just as easy as typing in your new budget ID and clicking duplicate. You can duplicate all of your assumptions, the values. If you say wanted to start from scratch, or maybe you wanted to keep your notes from the budget, but you wanted to delete all the values, we have a lot of tools built into the system, like little widgets where you can go in and just do that. I want to keep all my notes, but delete all my values. Everyone needs to start from zero. You can do that with a click of a button in Dynamic Budgets. Or you can start from scratch. There's a lot of different options.
Well, excellent. You're getting great comments here. It looks like something customers need. So good job.
Yep. And we did title the demo, Can You Spare the 5 Hours? So if anybody would like a free trial, it only takes less than, an hour, 2 hours to install and do basic setup. So, and just a few hours of training. So a lot of other folks out there will quote you 100, 200 hours of installation and setup. So if you can spare just a few hours before the end of the year and see what Dynamic Budgets can do, we'd love to offer you a free 30-day trial with your data, do some basic training and some basic setup, and, you can have fun, maybe make a forecast, look at your actuals, build some reports, and we'll help you. So if you'd like to do that, just contact Judy and we'd love to work with you.
Wonderful. Well, Jan, just a fantastic presentation. Again, like
Thank you.
always, I just love working with you
Thanks.
guys. You do just a
Thank you.
phenomenal
You
job.
too. Thanks.
So, any other questions we have? Well, I think that's it. Thanks again so much, Jen.
All right.
And
Thank
we'll
you.
talk to you guys later. Thank you.
All
Bye.
right. Thanks. Bye.